Hello, sis. Hey, Bama. Hope you guys are having a good day so far. Kind of set up my Facebook, but my phone is dead, so I have to have it plugged in. Not bag ain't gonna cut it. Oh boy. Okay, let's see if I can go live now from there. Technical difficulties. Just a minute. Go live. Let it load. Alright, go live. So I hope everybody's having a good day, a good week so far. I rotated. Facebook was seeing my purse. You're having a bad day. How come? It's been good. Bama, tired, but it's been good. Still sober. Anyways, let's go ahead and get the meeting going. I forgot to send out my link to my sponsor, so maybe she will come in. I'm not sure. But Emma, sorry to hear that. Yeah, it happens. Thank you for being here and coming back and try it again. Sometimes it takes more than once. Not everybody's right off the bat sober. I fell off the wagon a year after I started the first time. Of course, before I found AA, but I fell off the wagon and went and got drunk with the neighbor. Not from where I'm at now, but this has been 11, 12 years ago. So might even be 13 years ago, somewhere in there. I don't know. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the meeting. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I have earbuds in today. I forgot to take them out. So hopefully you're hearing me over there on the Facebook side. But anyways, please be mindful and not judgment in the meeting. Judgment is not allowed during the meetings. You can judge me all you want if you're just passing through, but please don't judge the people in the chat or the comments. Thank you. I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, only praying for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry these message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. I do put in the description what we're reading. I'm in the 4th edition book, so you might be on a different page. I don't know why that's there. Okay. Anyways, if you don't have a book, it's all right. I'm going to read it anyways. But we are reading Tightrope, page 359. Trying to navigate separate worlds was a lonely charade that ended when this gay alcoholic finally landed in AA. Drinking was always a part of my family background. All the men in my family drank. My father and later my brother were heavy drinkers. As long as a person held down a job, didn't embarrass his family or friends too frequently, and kept out of trouble, he was entitled to get drunk on a regular basis. Drinking was an adult thing to do, a part of growing up. I don't believe it ever crossed my mind that I shouldn't drink. I was raised in a conservative religion, and I commuted to religious schools some distance from home because I had a quick mind and was comfortable with academics. I became something of a teacher's pet. As a result, I was a serious, shy, somewhat bookish child and teenager who found it difficult to relate to my peers. So when I went away to college, I was an alcoholic waiting to happen. My relation to alcohol was a love affair from the very beginning, although I wasn't too thrilled with the taste. I loved the effect. Alcohol helped me to hide my fears. The ability to converse was an almost miraculous gift to a shy and lonely individual. It was at this time that I also began to struggle with the question of my sexuality. For me, the idea of being homosexual, the word gay wasn't then in common use, was unthinkable. Drinking helped me to forget and evade. Also, it provided some cover. When you are drunk, people are not surprised at an inability or disinclination to make any serious moves towards a woman. This struggle continued throughout years of unsuccessful dating and pretending. When I eventually decided to act on my desires, the guilt and the shame, as well as the drinking, increased. Now I had to hide not only my thoughts, but also my conduct. I always tried to project the image of the conservative, masculine, deep-voiced loner with the mysterious, possibly tragic, but always heterosexual love affair in the past. I wound up living two separate and distinct lives, that of the gay man with friends and interests to match, and that of a straight man with a totally separate set of friends and interests. I had to walk this tightrope while trying to build a solid professional life as well. After college, I had gone on to law school, where drinking on a daily basis became the norm. I justified myself with the thought that a few drinks helped me to relax and focus on my studies. Somehow I managed to do well in law school and to land several prestigious legal positions afterward. I soon learned that I could not drink during the day. If I had even one drink at lunch, the rest of the afternoon would be lost. Instead, I postponed my drinking until immediately after work and would then make up for lost time. Work in a law firm added a third side to my already divided life. Now I had to try to maintain social relations with clients, members, and associates of the firm, in addition to my gay and straight friends from my private lives. Needless to say, as the drinking increased, things became even more confused. Eventually, the pressure became too great. I had formed a serious relationship and decided that I could no longer carry on the deception. Instead, I would change careers and go into teaching. For a while, things seemed to be going well, but the slide towards active alcoholism was slowly accelerating. I had had my first blackout several years before. At that time, I told myself that if it ever happened again, I would stop drinking. It happened again and again and again, but I didn't stop. I always I was always able to come up with some explanation, excuse, or rationalization that justified my continued drinking. In time, personality changes began to occur with regularity when I drank. I had always had a sharp tongue when drinking. I frequently became pictorial. I don't know that word. So if you know the word, please say it. And now I lost my spot. There it is. At other times, I could be charming and affectionate. Sometimes too much so. People never knew just what I would do or say. After a few years, I was a nightly blackout drinker. My lover drank heavily as well, and I began to compare my drinking with his. I argued to myself that I could get out of my kitchen right now. Writer. No, go lay down. Sorry, the dog wants to bug me. No different than the other two were. I argued to myself that I could not have a problem because his drinking was worse than mine at times. In fact, I suggested that he might try AA. When he did try this fellowship, I did all I could to undermine his efforts to get sober. His recovery would present an obvious, if unacknowledged, threat to my drinking. Eventually, the stress became too much and we broke up, but not before I had succeeded in undermining his recovery. The slide continued. Most of my friends were unwilling to put up with my conduct. The verbal and sometimes physical abuse, the midnight phone calls, the forgotten invitations, and the selfish disregard of anything but my own need to drink. Those few friends who did not withdraw were forced away by my resentments and increasing paranoia. I cut people out of my life, refusing to return phone calls and ignoring. Oh, found it. What are you doing, Ryder? Ryder! And ignoring them when we met by chance. By the end of my drinking, only 2 people were willing to have anything to do with me on a social basis, and both were heavy drinkers who were not surprised by my actions. The cases in which disaster struck when I drank outside my home increased. No! I made inappropriate passes at parties. Go see Mike, Ryder. Mike, call him. Go get him. Anyway, I made inappropriate passes at parties or at people at work, both men and women. At other times, I awakened battered or with my watch or wallet missing, or in the company of strangers whose names I did not remember or did not want to know. There were the inevitable injuries and accidents. I was ejected from bars because I would steal tips or change from bartenders or other customers to pay for the drinks I could no longer afford. At other times, I would get into arguments and be forced to leave. In consequences, I made the seemingly logical decision not to drink outside the house. Instead, most of my drinking was now solitary. When I left work, I would have a few stiff drinks at dinner and then go home. I could not, I, I would stop off at the kitchen to pick up a glass, some ice, and some mixer. I would go to my bedroom where I kept half-gallon bottles of gin and vodka and read while the ice melted, the mixer ran out, and sometimes the glass broke. Every night was blackout drinking. The really bad times were when I would have to struggle outside to a liquor store or bar late at night, weaving and trying not to stagger because I had miscalculated and run out of alcohol. I found it increasingly difficult to do anything more than work and drink. I was afraid to use public transportation or even to walk on the streets. My stomach was constantly upset, and my doctor had diagnosed a number of intestinal disorders, even though I rarely drank away from home. My body was covered with bruises because I often fell down during blackouts. I never wore long sleeved shirts, even in summer, because er, people I awoke with, sorry, I skipped some, because people would ask me about the bruises. One morning I woke with a numb leg and found that I had somehow ruptured two spinal discs while in a blackout at home. For the last 4 years, I lived alone in a small house. The ceiling of one room had collapsed, and plaster dust was everywhere, coating the garbage and newspapers that littered the floors. Empty food cartons, beer cans, bottles, and dirty clothes lay where they were tossed. I had gotten a cat because the mice were out of control, but I was not continuous about cleaning up after the cat. It is not surprising that I had few visitors and neighbors tended to avoid me. The last few months filled with fear and self-pity, I began to contemplate offing myself with increasingly regularity, yet I was afraid of dying. I remember thinking that this life would go on, never getting better and slowly fading away to nothing. Then I began to hear the whispers. I became convinced that there were people living in my house. I couldn't see them, except for occasional glimpses out the corner of my eyes. And so I concluded that they were small and somehow living in the walls or under the stairs. I could hear them plotting to kill me. There were nights when I went to bed with a knife in hand to protect myself. Other nights I locked myself in the bathroom so they couldn't get me. One night I left a shot of vodka on the mantelpiece so they would go after that and leave me alone. Then a miracle occurred. An evening came when I decided to have one drink outside and then go straight home. I had that drink and left for my house. The next thing I remember is waking up the next morning with a stranger I had picked up in a bar. Apparently, I had gone on autopilot and in a blackout resulting from just one drink, had gone on a tear. The look of disgust and pity on the face of that stranger was the jolt I needed. I suddenly realized that my life was totally insane, that my drinking was out of control, and that I was either an alcoholic or a candidate for committal to the local asylum. Not wanting to be locked up, I decided to try Alcoholics Anonymous. Hi, Tony. I called my former lover and he put me in contact with an individual who took me to my first meeting. Although I can barely recall anything about that meeting, I heard two things I have never forgotten. The first was, "You don't have to drink again." This was a total revelation to me. For a long time, I had believed that alcohol was one of the few positive things left in my life. I looked forward to my first drink every evening and thought that alcohol was holding my life together. I had to drink to survive, let alone to have any comfort. Yet here, people who had been in the same boat were telling me that I didn't have to drink. I don't think I believed them that night, but it gave me enough hope to avoid drinking the rest of the day. The second thing I heard was, "You don't have to be alone anymore." This too was a revelation. For years, I had rejected or been rejected by friends, lovers, family, and God. I was alone and afraid. My life had narrowed. I forgot you weren't even here. I was telling you to get the dog.
Huh? I wasn't here.
My life had narrowed to work and the bottle, and work remained in the picture only because it was necessary to enable me to buy a bottle. The isolation and loneliness that alcoholism brought weighed heavily on me, and those words lifted an immense burden of fear. Again, I'm not sure that I completely believe, but I felt hope for the first time in years. I did not fall in love with AA at first glance. The man who took me to my first meeting later became my first sponsor, and he had to put up with objections, arguments, questions, and doubts. Everything a trained but very muddled legal mind could throw at him. He was gentle with me. Mine could throw, he was gentle with me. He did not push his opinions on me. He had the sense to see that I was so afraid and so used to being alone that I could not face a hard sell approach. He listened to my questions, answered some, and suggested that I could best answer others myself. He refused to argue but was willing to explain and share his own experiences. I had asked him to be my sponsor before I knew what he did for a living and felt I could not back out of the relationship when I discovered he was a minister. My alcoholism and my lifestyle had led me to reject the religion and the God of my upbringing. I had never replaced them. Instead, I was an agnostic, doubting the existence of God, but afraid to say so in case I was wrong. My self-pity and sense of victimization led me to doubt that a caring God could exist. If he did, why had he given me so many problems? I was very wary of the members who talked to their spiritual lives. My sponsor was a living damper on my intolerance, but even more, he told me that it would be all right for me to doubt God, that AA was not a religious program, and to belong, I did not have to adhere to any set of beliefs. He suggested that for me, a good starting point would simply be recognition of the fact that I had failed in running the world. In short, acceptance of the fact that I was not God, he also suggested that I might try occasionally to act as if I believed. Somewhere I had heard that it is easier to act yourself into a new way of thinking than to think yourself into a new way of acting. And this made sense in the context of acting as if. I also thought that the people in meetings sometimes seemed too standoffish and overly concerned with their friends and acquaintances rather than with me, the newcomer. Well, on my way toward developing a resentment, I expressed this to my sponsor. He suggested that I might find people more communicative if I took the copy making commitment for the group I had joined. Although I thought I was far too special to make copy, I did figure that as copy maker I would have the chance to select decent cookies, and so I agreed. My sponsor was right again. People did start to speak with me, if only to complain about the coffee and cookies. But once a conversation starts, communication frequently continues. I started to work on the steps, and even with my difficulty over the third step and the God concept, I began to develop a sense of trust in the AA group and in the ideals of the fellowship as a manifestation of a power greater than myself. Although for many years I did not come to an acceptance of a God who inevitably, whatever that word is, personally and directly in the lives of individuals, I was able to accept the idea of a force that moved in the rooms and animated AA members with a sense of unconditional love that satisfied my spiritual needs for a long time. A later sponsor took me through step 8 and 9 and provided me with support during some turning times in my third year of sobriety. It was in this period that I started to turn service beyond the group level. I had helped in founding the first gay AA group in my part of town and was elected general service representative after having served in other group offices. I knew nothing of general service at that time, and I decided to learn what it was about so I could do a decent job and able to pass it on to a successor as quickly as possible. After 2 years, I went on to do a number of other service jobs for AA. In all these positions, I never felt obligated to conceal or deny my sexuality. I've always felt that the representatives of groups in my area were concerned only with how we carried the message of recovery, not with what I might do in my personal life. When I first came to this fellowship, I'd lost my health and sanity, my friends, much of my family, my self-respect, and my God. In the years since, all of these have been restored to me. I no longer have the sense of impending doom. I no longer wish for death or stare at myself in the mirror with loathing. I have come to terms with my higher power after more than a dozen years in the fellowship. I was able to join a religious group and have now become active in the organization. I have a full, happy life and friends and loving family. Recently, I retired and have begun to travel throughout the world. I have attended and felt welcome at AA meetings wherever I have gone. Inside and outside the United States. Even more important, I returned to my home group and am still asked to make coffee. I now have an extended family that is international in scope, all the members of which are joined by bonds of shared pain and joy. So that's how I felt when I finally decided to listen to what they were saying in those rooms, because I didn't only go to one group. I went to quite a few. I mean, the biggest thing I went to, or that I have gone to anyways, because I still do AA, obviously I'm doing it right here. But I went to an intergroup meeting, and I think that's what it was called. My sponsor knows better than I do. But I went to one of those big, humongous gatherings, and my sponsor had invited me. I heard about it through the group that I started my AA sobriety with, and it's my home group besides this one. Anyways, so I went to that, and to see all the people that had come together for that meeting was mind-blowing. Just completely, I was like, holy moly. And we weren't in a church, we were in a lodge. No, I didn't stay in the lodge, but it was a nice lodge. I would like to stay there. My sponsor was in a room there, but she took me with her everywhere she went for that day. I did feel like I was part of a bigger thing than myself. And I didn't have to be in control of it. I would love to go to another one. But like this person says, learning that you don't have to drink was, for me, exactly that. It like slapped me. Hey, you don't have to go out there, and you don't have to buy that. You don't have to waste your time, waste your money, do stupid stuff that you'll regret later. I don't regret all of my time during my drinking, but the later days, yeah. It helped me to realize this isn't what I wanted for my life, to be out there drinking all the time and lying to myself mainly. Because everybody else already knew. I was the one thinking that I was convincing them. Because some of them did say stuff to me, like my son, my oldest son. When he was in high school, he's like, Mom, here, read this. And I just blew it off. And I shouldn't have. And I will never forget him giving that to me, because it should have been more important to me, and it wasn't. The alcohol was the most important. And I had some really good friends that told me, if you're an alcoholic, you might want to, just don't drink. And I didn't want to listen. And I kept on that drinking spiral all the way until I think I was in my late 30s. Yeah. Maybe early 30s. I don't know. But the point is nobody told me I had to go to AA. Nobody forced me to go to AA. I didn't go to jail. I didn't wreck my car because I was drinking and driving. I was one of those that, I wasn't hurting anybody except for me. Even then, I only got hurt once. And that was my own stupid fault because I was being an idiot. I don't even know what happened that day. The first time I got sober and went out. That day was definitely one of the worst. And then I was hosting for the state, and I had never had Mad Dog. I'm not sponsored by them, but I had some Mad Dog, and that was a big, yeah, I was invincible. My husband had to tell me that I had butted a brick wall trying to pick up a frog. And then I put him in the bathroom, in the men's bathroom. I didn't knock, just walked in. Whoops. There was nobody in there, thank goodness, but I should not have done that either. And then I put the frog in the sink and left the water on. The frog needed water, apparently. But I did stupid like that. I don't miss it. I actually do like remembering what I did. I don't call people. I don't miss not doing that. I don't miss doing that either. It was crazy when I was drinking. Really crazy. I would go into the swimming pool drunk. Yeah, I would sneak somebody else's alcohol when I was in their home. Or I'd beg the neighbor. I go door knocking. Or asking for change. Yep. I did that. I don't miss it. Now I just stick to myself. Mind my own business. I'll work my steps every day, no matter what I'm doing. I was at work the other day, and I was like, I really don't want to be here. I was getting really irritated because I knew I was going to get in trouble because I was moving slow. I haven't been feeling good, so, they've already come up to me and asked me why I was going so slow and give me a verbal warning. And then the week before, think it was the week before. Another manager came up. Okay, so it's been 3 times now. My bad. So I got talked to about my earbuds. And then I got talked to about I think it was about me leaving a little too early for breaks. I might be wrong. But I am not like other people and leave my station open. I actually log off so nobody else can go in there and mess it up for me. But yeah, so I got irritated at work and I have to use my just breathe. Breathe. Take a deep breath. You're going to make it. You're going to be fine. So I did it and I made it through both days I worked. 10-hour shifts. But anyways, sobriety is great. No matter how you put it, being sober and being able to know that you've got this and you can do it, and it's worked every day. I mean, I've had bad days, plenty of them, but I always try to remember that I can only control me. I can't control anybody else, and I don't want to control anybody else. But anyway, I think that's about it for today. Unless if anybody has a question. All right, then. I'm going to go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer, and you're welcome, Bama. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys.